What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Coach Ken from Giving It a Try. Another quick athlete talk video of just some tips, tricks, summaries of conversations I've had with athletes over the last week. And again, putting this information out there because some of the talks and conversations that we have may benefit you and you may pick up something out of it as well. This is week 14 we're going into of 2025. And I was looking at posts the other day and something popped up and I said, oh, wow, this is going pretty quick here because 25% of 2025 is gone. So we have goals, we have visions, we have plans for the year, endurance sports, life, whatever it is. It all overlaps, and I'm learning that as well. But in the big grand scheme of things, we have to just kind of self-assess at this point. For the athletes, coached athletes, I asked you something earlier in the year. I said, define 3 performance goals, for yourself this year. It's time to go back and start and revisit those from a couple months ago and start to see, are we on the right path? Are we on the right track? Are we all in on our goals right now? Has anything changed in our lives that may deter us? I have a podcast coming out and it talks about goals, anti-goals, and collateral damage, and you'll understand what all that means when that podcast comes out in another week or so. But these are things we need to reassess now because they may have changed from when we had these visions and plans for some of these events and or races, where you may have thought you had this great big training block that was about to start happening, but maybe something changed in life. Or the opposite, maybe you thought you wouldn't be able to get some type of consistent long training block in for a big race, but plans may be changed with life, family, or work, and you may have some more free time now. So it's kind of one of those like, so let's reassess at this point if what we have on the calendar, and this is for everybody, not just the coached athletes, if what you have on the calendar is, still there, still able, still doable for the goal that you set. If you were going for some big PR in a long course distance event, and things may have shifted a little bit since then, maybe it's time to just reevaluate your approach to it and come up with a different goal. And you just have to be honest with yourself in that process because we do want to enjoy the journey. That is the biggest thing here that we have to do. One of the things I had a talk with an athlete was they said, I said, what are your strengths and weaknesses? And one of their weaknesses was they really didn't know how to react or how to make decisions when all hell breaks loose out there on race day. And that could be with triathlon, like your fueling strategy goes out the window, maybe a mechanical issue, a flat tire. They're just, they don't have the experience of dealing with those types of adversity in still pressure situations when it's not just training and we can take our time. So these are things as well that you can self-analyze is what are some things execution wise on race day that we need to work on now. That could be transition for triathlon, that could be fueling strategy, how to carry your fuel, when to fuel, a fueling plan for that race, mechanical issues, how to deal with them, making sure you have all the right tools and accessories to deal with it efficiently out there, practicing all that, because we can do all the training we want. And again, these are things that do fall into that control the controllables, because if we can control the outcome of some of these hiccups that might come along out there, this is why we got to practice it in training, and we got to kind of play as we train and train as we play. Another thing is the before and after. That's something a lot of people look at. They look at where they were and where they want to go. It's really the process in between that is the most humbling of the journey and where we spend the most time. That's where outside of race day or execution on race day is where we spend the time, is in that in between. So enjoy it, thrive in it, learn during it. And again, there's going to be the rule of thirds. You're going to feel good some days, you're going to feel horrible other days, and other days are going to be right in the middle. And if you're feeling all 3 of those things, you are like every other person out there that's going through this in training and prepping for these races and goals. And those are the feelings that we're supposed to be having. And that means that you're doing things the right way out there. So just be patient, be present, be deliberate during the process. Reevaluate yourself throughout. If you remember big block philosophies, your training, your sleep, your nutrition, your fueling, recovery, stress balance, all these big things. As we go up the ladder, sometimes we have to come back down and fix those things, reassess those, and then work our way back up the pyramid of, this journey that we have here. And again, the longer that, or the more time that we can just keep all that in the forefront and revisit those concepts over time, they're always, being revisited. They're always, you can always better them. You can always make them more efficient. You can always say, well, through the last block of training, I think I did my fueling really good during the day, but I'm going to add this to it now and make it even better. Or my hydration strategy, I'm going to make sure I stay on top of X, Y, and Z this time through my training block. And this is going to help me in the long run. A couple issues with online platforms for cycling. This could be Zwift and now Training Peaks Virtual, which comes free with anyone who has a Training Peaks premium subscription, is a really cool program. It's very similar to Zwift, but it's real world type of stuff. It's not just by power. It's not just by training, certain things like Trainer Road, which can kind of just give you, hey, do this power for X amount of time and this is your workout. It gives you a representation of a virtual world to go with the power you're putting on your trainer, some elevation changes, making your trainer simulate that you have different, ascending and descending on the courses. But there's a few problems that come along with that. One of them is, don't really be concerned about what your miles per hour are. I've had people reach out and say, especially with these more virtual reality type platforms with cycling, is like, I don't understand. I only went 5 miles per hour. Well, if you're doing a set workout set by power, the workout really doesn't care where you are on the course. It's going to make you on the trainer, especially in erg mode, go 120 watts for X amount of minutes or 140 watts for X amount of minutes. It doesn't care if you're going up or down. It'll correlate your miles per hour based on that percentage of grade and the power that you're going. So in all intents and purposes, if you're in a recovery interval between, say you were doing, let's say you were doing 5 by 4 minutes with a 3-minute recovery in between. And chances are your 3-minute recovery is a very small percentage of power just to keep the legs spinning, flush the legs out, getting ready for your next interval. And if you're on that screen going at a very small percentage of watts on a percentage that's 6, 7, or 8 going up a mountain, yeah, it's going to say you're going like 2-3 miles per hour because that's the math that it's going to give you. So that's obviously, if that was real world going uphill, you'd be putting out more power. But because you were doing a workout that had set intervals, you paired yourself with this world, and it doesn't really line up, if that makes sense. So my advice on that is, if you want some more real life miles per hour, or making your avatar do more so what you're doing in your workout speed wise, always pick a flat course then when you're doing some type of set interval or set power workout in erg mode, because that will just simulate that you're outside on the street doing your recovery portion, and then it's going to say maybe you're going 13 miles per hour, and then on the interval portion you're going 16, 17, or 18 miles per hour, and then as opposed to this up and down on the hills. I tend to keep the more technical courses for the free rides, when it's, hey, I got an hour, 2 hours, and then I'll just ride and we'll do the terrain. We'll do rolling hills and let the trainer change and let your power naturally go up and down as the terrain changes. And that's how I decide what type of course I'm doing as well. Because if you don't realize and just choose a course that's literally a climb straight up a mountain for 5 miles and do an interval workout, it may say for 50 minutes of a workout, you only went 4 miles of distance. And you're like, this doesn't even make sense. How did I only go 4 miles? That's because you were literally climbing a mountain the entire time. So long story short, if you want to do a set workout on a course like that with the erg mode on, just pick a flat course, make your life easy, and the numbers will come in and out the same way. So that's course selection there. There's 2 different ways to do bike workouts. You can have a bike workout that is pre-selected from Zwift. Zwift has a huge catalog of preset workouts as well on Training Peaks Virtual, but they're kind of just mixed and matched. And yes, is there some good in the off season to just pick some of these from time to time? Yes, but some of them have a very high stress score, meaning what your acute and chronic training load are for that time may not be in proportion to the workout that you just chose. It may be a very hard workout in comparison to what you've done recently. So are you going to have these diminishing returns where you're just going to feel completely and utterly gassed after this workout because it wasn't in line with your current training and training plan, and maybe affect the next workout the next day? That's why I like to give very simple, progressive workouts to the athletes through their training. And these are, set intervals that are going to build over time. They're building off the week before, slowly, incrementally building your TSS score over time, workout to workout, week to week, increasing these intervals. Because what are we training for? We're training to put out one good solid effort on race day. We're not really, is it good to train different systems randomly in training? To a point, but the real return in endurance training is when you do things very progressively in a progressive overload manner from where you are now to where you need to be, and just climb the stairs as we get there and get up there. So that's the difference between kind of the workout set I build by Power and the workouts that you could find on some of these other platforms there. A tip that I could give you is, if you are training yourself, you're self-guided, this is for off season, if you don't have someone giving you or building you workouts, you can go into Zwift, and they do have like training plans where at least they will progress you over a certain number of weeks with different workouts and give you 2 or 3 different workouts every week. I can definitely agree with that, because that is going to prepare you and build you workout after workout. And at least you're getting some type of progression along the way, which is beneficial for you. And again, just don't get caught up too much in the worlds of these things. I actually don't even pay attention to who's around me, who's in front of me, who I got to catch up to. Like I go on there. I have a purpose for the workout. That's my plan. I just let it track numbers and stuff like that. It's fun to just look at something sometimes. But other than that, that's really about all that I use it for. Again, bike workouts indoors, unless you're just doing an open-ended ride and you want to, go with the terrain. If it's a set workout, it's just, there's a purpose for that workout. Don't let any of the other stuff on there, bother you or distract you or anything like that. And while we're on the subject of cycling, FTP tests. A couple questions have come up as a couple people have gone through these tests in recent weeks. There's 2 main tests that I typically like to have the coached athlete do, and that would be a ramp test versus a 20-minute threshold test. I've done both of these. I've played with them in the past. I've seen the results of the past. From my experience, for myself, typically get a higher value on the ramp test than I do on the 20-minute threshold. Why do I find this to be? Is a ramp test takes you to failure. Everybody's threshold of how much longer they can push or go is a little different. Some people can just kind of grind and get in that hurt locker a little longer than others, and that's going to give you a different result per test. And with the 20-minute threshold, though, it's a little more intermediate test, because there's a pacing involved in it. It's kind of like the 5K of cycling, where you can either blow up too early, hold back too early, and then, kind of not have a good high average at the end because you left some on the table. Or again, like if you went too hard out front, 5 or 10 minutes, and then you just start crashing and burning the last 10 minutes, because if you've now blown your legs up, you're going to get a lower score. So time after time, as we do the test, it's not going to be done perfect the first time, the second time, or the third time, or if you haven't done it in a while. It's something that you learn, and it's the same as running a 5K. You will learn how to properly push, pace, what feels like the edge, what feels like you can hold. There is a pacing strategy involved in that. But what I do think is that the 20-minute test, when done properly, will give you a better, more accurate representation of what your FTP is. And I don't think that you have to go do a 20-minute test tomorrow if you've been doing the ramp test to really find out if your FTP number is accurate. Is when we get your number and I start giving you the set workouts that go off the percentage of your FTP, is there should be an RPE level on certain workouts. And that's why I ask after a test, I say, okay, now go do this workout and let me know how the interval portion feels. Obviously, if you fail to meet the interval workout, then your FTP is set too high. If you say, well, that was kind of easy, I felt really good during it, then it may be set a little too low, and then we can manually bump it up or bring it down a little bit from time to time, just to play with the sweet spot. So that's kind of the gist with FTP tests and the cycling platforms. I just wanted to put some of that information out there. For the coached athletes, check out the coaching app that we use. I started last week with swim tips. We're going to do a swim tip every week, breaking down the stroke from start to finish over the next few weeks. As well, we're going to start dumping in a run tip a week, something to focus on form-wise while you're out there. And I put a lot of notes in there, and you can find it in the app. So make sure that you jump on there and kind of see what we got going on each week. It's much better than making a video from start to finish right now on run form and giving it out there, because everybody's going to go out tomorrow and try and do whatever it is, the 5, 8, 9, 10 things that are listed there. Where when we change anything, whether that's swim, bike, run, we have to be very careful with it, because again, we've been doing something a certain way for a very long period of time. And if we just change it all up for that hour session tomorrow, you may come into some overuse injuries because now you're using different muscle than you might have because you're trying to do a different form. So that's why we break things down piece by piece over time. We build habit and consistency with it. And then overall, we put it together at the end and see where we went. I'm working on a lot of things behind the scenes that you don't see. I'm pretty busy with that. I'm working on modifying some training plans. I'm working on modifying a bunch of workouts, workout library on my end, just a lot of things that are I'm going to be able to pass along to everybody in the coming weeks and months, the coached athletes, different types of workouts, different ways of the workouts loading on your watches, and it'll be pretty good. It's going to be some fun stuff there, and I'm going to bring myself through a lot of those testing and evaluating those things over the next couple weeks and months before I roll them out into your calendars and training plans as well. So I'm forever busy, but I love it, and keep progressing forward just like I do when I'm out there training and racing. Again, this is, we're going to wrap up here in a minute. This is one of the longer athlete talks actually, but remember every Monday, as of now, the podcast is coming out, long form content. Just things I think about while I'm out there. I jot down over a course of a week or two, come up with a stuff I want to go over or just talk about that I can do long form content wise. And if you have any questions or anything you specifically want to hear more about in in-depth terms on my thoughts or things or training, whatever it is, my experiences with it, let me know. Or if you have a story that you want to share and you want to come on and you think that it will benefit others in a way, in a positive light, please, by all means, reach out and we can set something up. But for now, enjoy. 25% of the year is gone. So we are now going into the second quarter, literally, of the game this year. So, hey, if you're down a little bit, it's time to regroup, refocus, get back out there on the playing field, and let's charge forward. So everybody stay safe, stay healthy, keep balancing that life 1 mile at a time, and I'll catch you all on the next one.